Thinking Native, 11 Insights for 2011, with your host Saul Kropman from The Digital Edge.
Hi Saul, I'm Angus Robinson. I was the founder and CEO of Brandish Media, and my new role is Executive Creative Director for Concept at Native.
It's a big title.
It is a big title. So we've really looked to have a centre of excellence in Cape Town around design and the visual language and visual interfaces. And that's run by Adam Whitehouse, who's the ex-creative director of Stonewall. And then my role is really to make sure that our strategies are supported by great creative ideas. And that's going to be sort of predominantly run out of Johannesburg and integrate with the rest of the Johannesburg team.
You obviously merged Brandish into Native last year. I mean, what are you excited about in terms of the merger? What's keeping you moving forward?
Well, I think there's so many things. I think the first thing that we saw with the merger was the exceptional talent and sort of depth of skills in the overall combined group. It also allowed us to, as Brandish, we were sitting at 35 or so staff members, and you got a couple of decisions. Do you grow aggressively from that? Do you try and stick at that position? At some point, you're going to need some more senior professional management members to come in, and the opportunity came up at the time, and it just made sense from so many different levels. The exciting thing is that it gives us a much larger access to an exceptional client base. You've got South African tourism, we've got Distel, we've got General Motors, we've got some really, really good clients that we can now offer more integrated social media and mobile services to, that are Stonewall and Cambrian clients. And conversely, we've also got some ex-Brandish clients that we can offer much stronger design and technology platforms to. So that's one of the key things for us. It's I think that this year is going to see a lot more sort of consolidation in the digital agency space. We're 6 months ahead of the curve. We've been working since April or so last year, and most of the integration is already done. So we're ahead of that curve, because integration is not an easy thing, but I think we've done it fairly painlessly. It's been your client's response about the whole merger? Overwhelmingly positive. Everyone has been thrilled. We've done a few roadshow kind of presentations, and there is definitely a huge amount of appetite from them to see what else our services are. The level of work that we're producing now has gone up a notch, so they're already seeing it from both from process and from things like wireframes and site design. So the Stonewall guys in Cape Town have really got that kind of skill. The Cambrian team is exceptionally process driven, which is always good to have when you're dealing in the agency space that relies on digital, because often there's integration, there's complex systems to be built. So I think altogether it really has been a very positive thing for our clients. All right, we're talking about mobile today. I mean, we hear a lot about mobile. We hear some crazy stats. How important is mobile in South Africa in actual fact? It is incredibly important, and I think we've also got to the point where we were position ourselves as a mobile and social media agency, and one of the things that I'll always remember is one of the guys from, I think it was BBH, presenting at Barcelona last year. He said, mobile agencies are dead, start one immediately. And what he was saying was, that there is definitely the need for specialist mobile skills, but inevitably they are all going to be integrated into the larger offering that digital agencies and agencies of the future are going to be offering. So that's exactly where we've ended up. So we have specialist mobile skills now part of a bigger agency group, and I think that in South Africa with the economy that we have, with the breakdown of the population, with opportunities in the sort of the SADC region, mobile is extremely important. Just if you look at the numbers, the 40 million odd mobile subscribers, 25 odd million Mixit users. That number changes very often. But you cannot underestimate the power of mobile, and it's more importantly going to start being integrated into all your communication, not just your campaign communication, but also you need to approach it from that platform approach where it's a consistent messaging, but also into operations. So what do you do in your operational business that makes that user experience, a customer experience, so much better? Where I might have integrated or interacted with you from a campaign, I'm now a customer of yours, and then through mobile, whether it's a mobile site, SMSs, USSD, whatever it is, I get additional information that I've at my fingertips, and it's really, really important to make sure that the mobile thinking is integrated into campaigns right from the beginning.
Would you say that mobile in South Africa has primarily been mostly campaign work rather than, say, almost advertorial kind of product work?
It's been a bit of both. I think WASPA has had and WASPA is the mobile industry sort of watchdog, and they've really tried to cut down on the spam element of SMS messaging. In terms of what we see the most of, there is a great deal of outbound messaging for campaign work, but we're starting to see some very smart usage of mobile from operations where you're getting that reminder SMS to say the telecom technician is going to be at your house at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and hopefully he does actually arrive at 8 o'clock the next morning. But those are the ways that are starting to become integrated into systems. The companies like Discovery and Standard Bank and some of the debt collecting guys they do use it extensively, and we haven't really seen great mobile campaigns yet. We haven't seen large scale campaigns that have sort of changed a brand that have been on mobile in this country, and I think that's still to come. There have been some very interesting ones that have been have had mobile elements, but nothing that has been predominantly a mobile campaign that has really sort of rocked the market or industry.
You also spoke a lot about how mobile is going to become part of integrated campaigns. How would mobile fit into those integrated campaigns, and what would you do with mobile in a fully integrated campaign?
All right, so the best way to look at it is that there's an approach that was sort of adopted by Wonderman, and what they say, it's sort of digital at the core. So they have search, internet, social, and email as three core elements of the digital offering that most campaigns should consider. And with all your above-the-line and traditional media sort of sitting in a donut around that, our view is that mobile should be at the core of that digital core, because it is the one thing that allows you to address that person independently, individually, at the right time, with the right context, with the right messaging. And I think that even if your campaign doesn't actually require it, at least you've considered it at the very beginning. So what could the mobile element of this campaign be, and how could that manifest itself, and then how could that integrate with the other digital elements to start? Then you look at saying, well, how do we integrate it with the rest of the above-the-line media that we have? Remembering that it's often very difficult to get someone to go from one media to another. So having an SMS on a billboard is probably okay. Having an SMS in a print ad is probably more difficult. But having a click to SMS from a mobile banner, or click to SMS or click to interact from an in-game app, that starts becoming sort of far more successful. In terms of other integration, the other example that I use, and we've just run it again this year for Standard Bank, is the Standard Bank Matric Results campaign, where we allowed matriculants to pre-register to get the matric results sent to them via SMS. So if you registered with your exam number, we could send you the SMS on the morning that those exam results are released, with your full exam results in there. And you could either SMS in your details, you could go into Facebook and type in your details there, you could register via Mixit, you could register via an IVR line, you go to the mobile site. There are a whole lot of different ways to integrate and interact with with that base. And once again, SMS and IVR were the two most successful, because that's what people expect. They want to get their matric results on their phone, and it's quite easy for them to then make the link between, I'm going to SMS in, and the day that my results come out, they're going to be SMS to me. Sure. And the results, once again, were phenomenal. Over 200,000 odd interactions, 200,000 unique matriculants interacted with us. So it's a very successful campaign. Sure. But that, was the mobile integration took place at day one from the campaign planning. It wasn't an afterthought.
You also talk a lot about numbers, and that's something that I think everyone has a different opinion on. You said 25 million people on Mixit. I've heard numbers as 15 million people with mobile access to the web. Where are those other 10 million, for example, you're using Mixit?
Well, remember, some of those are so that's total number of registered users. So some of those are probably people that have got new phones and re-registered, or new SIM cards. And the other thing is that that's not all South Africa. Okay. Mixit is huge in Indonesia. They've launched in Kenya. They're in the process of rolling out in Nigeria. Right. So we are getting a fair amount of take-up from other markets.
But I mean, that still does kind of beg the question of what numbers are there, and how can a marketer segment those numbers?
Very difficult. I think we do really rely on the media owners to give us those numbers broken down into palatable, easily understandable chunks. But the other thing is that when you run campaigns, you see the results. So whether it is actually 15 million or 18 million, it becomes fairly irrelevant, because you're going to reach millions of people. And when you're at that kind of scale, the cost per interaction, the cost per acquisition starts becoming significantly lower. I think it is always up to debate of how many mobile internet users there are in the country, how many app users there are, how many all those different numbers become very debatable and highly contested. Arthur Goldstuck has got some very clear views, which I think are not right in terms of the total numbers, because we're seeing different numbers in reality in terms of campaigns that we run. And until the 3 networks or 4 networks now get together and actually help us get those the true numbers of how many people are accessing the internet through their networks, we're going to continue in this guessing game. So I think that's one of the key things for this year, is that if the Mobile Marketing Association of South Africa could actually get the networks to talk to each other and help share that information, we might be able to get rid of the stat schizophrenia that we have.
But I kind of get the impression the moral of the story is, no matter what the stats, it's still big.
Exactly. So, and I use this example as well for internet and mobile users and campaigns in Nigeria. Nigeria now has in the region of 80 million odd mobile subscribers, and they have in the region of 20 to 30, no one really knows, but let's call it 25 million internet users. Some numbers are pushing it closer to 35, and some numbers are closer to 20. But let's say whatever it is, it's a lot. It's triple or 4 times the size of the South African market. So you might say, well, we don't want to do anything on the internet in Nigeria, but actually, once again, you're going to be reaching the more affluent people that have got more access to internet. That suddenly becomes a very significant option in terms of the Nigerian market. So it's not just about percentages, and it's something I really try and sort of bang on about in presentations that I do. It's not just about the percentages, it's also about those absolutes, because 25 million people on the internet in Nigeria is just phenomenal.
Well, while we're still talking about numbers, it's kind of interesting to talk about who those numbers are made up of. I mean, is it really just the bottom of the pyramid, people with the lowest end phones, or what are we seeing?
Well, you'll always get in every market, the sort of people with more access to money taking up the smartphone, because that's what they want. They are going to adopt early. They can afford it. They want to be seen with those phones. So you're always going to get a very lucrative, very important base of top-end customers that have access to the best phones that are out there. Whether they travel and buy the phones internationally or get them sent to them, or whatever they do to get them, they will get them. So I think that's sort of the one element. But the rest is, if you consider that in the Nigerian population, let's call it sort of 70 or 75 million odd people, those people are, mostly going to be small business owners or entrepreneurs or people that are just, out there to try and do whatever they need to do to survive. So it's going to be the people that you want to talk to as a brand. I think that Guinness has done some amazing things with the MoTribe guys. They've launched a mobile social network with Vince and Nick from MoTribe, and the early indications are that those numbers are phenomenal, because a brand has put their efforts behind something that is able to reach those big numbers in Nigeria. Very interesting times. I think that we're going to see more of that this year with the rollouts of other sort of mobile-based social networks.
Well, let's move on to look at it from the perspective of the client. Mobile is obviously quite broad in the sense that there's SMS, MMS, USSD, you name it. We can go on with three-letter acronyms for a while. How does a mobile marketer or a corporate marketer actually approach all these different acronyms?
They don't need to. Okay. What they need to say is, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what my service offering or product offering is. These are the kind of people that I'm trying to reach, and that's where your agency's got to step up. And one of the key things that I'm seeing, that I'm predicting for this year, is that we're going to see a lot more strategy work, where marketers are going to say, let's stop the boats. Let's just take some time to understand exactly what we can do with this technology and all these technologies, because they really are just the enabler to interact with the client base. You don't go and say, well, I want USSD because it's USSD. You say, I want USSD because it's going to reach the right people. So I think that's what's going to happen this year, is that there's going to be a hell of a lot of focus around doing the real thinking upfront, and that will then decide which of those services are used. There's so many of them. There's voicemail callbacks, there are MMSs, there are interactive MMSs, there are personalized MMSs. It just becomes too complex to try and consider all of those things, and I don't think it really is for the marketers to try and make head or tail of it all. It's up to the agencies to deliver on what they're selling, to live up to what their offering is and to what their hype is.
Let's talk about the top 5 things in mobile that everyone should be taking note of from your perspective.
Okay, so I've touched on the first one, I think, which is the opportunity for social media on mobile. So if you look at the inherent properties of social, or the themes around social media, it's about sharing, it's about opinion, it's about what I like, when I like it. And there are a whole lot more. But if you translate or you consider that in relation to what mobile offers you, they are very much aligned. Because mobile is at that moment of thought, at that time that we come up with the thoughts that you want to share with your friends, you've got Twitter available. That moment that you want to put out a photo of your holiday, you can send it to your Facebook. So I think that there definitely is going to be a continued growth of mobile integration or usage with the social networks and with existing social networks. And then secondly, touching on the MoTribes thing, is that there is going to be more of a focus on sort of branded mobile networks, mobile social networks that are driven by brands or products. So early days for that still. I think that that really is one of the big things in that space. The second area, there has been for the last 2 to 3 years, but there's continuing buzz around the apps and app store market. Apple is definitely the organization that's got it right. I'm hearing that there's going to be some big reorganization in the Android market because it's so difficult to find stuff. And it hasn't. I'm not an Android user, so I don't use it. But I think that there is going to be a continued focus on apps, which leads me to the next point of the importance of HTML5. And I think that we've seen it with YouTube. They've specifically stated that they have moved away from the app model. They do not want to try and have to maintain applications across 6 or 7 different mobile operating systems, and they've developed an HTML5 version of their YouTube app, and that now is what they are driving. You have access to many of the phone's onboard features through HTML5. It suddenly becomes something that is really suitable for the mobile space. We just need to make sure that the handset market can handle, the browsers on the mobile phones can handle the HTML5 sites, which that'll happen.
But that kind of asks the question, are apps maybe more than just a stopgap until HTML5 becomes more common?
If we can build games like Angry Birds and and do things that are as exciting and as engaging as as we can in the app environment, if we can do that with HTML5, well, then I think in 5 to 10 years, maybe the app model will have faded, and we'll be looking at web delivered apps, which might be the best for everyone because it's build once, deploy, many times, or build once and a bit to make sure that everything works perfectly everywhere, instead of it having to build 5 or 6 times. So it could be a stopgap. No one really knows. Unless you absolutely have to have an app, I would be going the YouTube route right now. Make sure that it is integrated with whatever your web offering is, that there's single sign-on, that there is that the data follows you. Those are the important things. I think that Amazon has done it exceptionally well with Kindle. Although it's app-based, you can download the iPad app, the mobile, the iPhone app, the App Store app, and on the Kindle, and it syncs across all. So you get to page 38, chapter 2. You finish reading on your Kindle, you open up your phone, and there you go straight to that same page. Those are the smart things that need to happen. Those are the experiences that are going to make people far more keen to use multiple devices for single services. The next thing for the year, I've just touched on it, is also the integration across platforms. So integration, single database, single backend, single user record with multiple preferences or multiple display preferences according to device. Instead of mobile being standalone, it needs to be part of the overall web offering, but very much designed for mobile interfaces. Don't try and just take your phone or take your existing website and render it on a phone, because that's not going to work. That's not what people want. They don't want to read about you in 4 million lines. They don't want that. If they come to your mobile site, they want one line to say, what is the site about? And if that, your site should be clear enough that you don't need to say that.
What about the complication of multiple devices there? Obviously, you've got your iPhone, which is a 960 by 640 resolution, as opposed to a Samsung E250, which is a 128 by 128 resolution.
Handset rendering is the only way to go. So there are a couple of commercial services. There are also open source services like Wurfel, which allow you to pick up what the device is from the incoming request from its browser. There's something called the UA Prof, which is a user profile, and that says, okay, I am a Samsung E250. Because you've got access to the Wurfel database, that the Samsung E250 has a screen resolution and size of X, and you render the site that is most suitable. You render the page in that way that is most suitable for that phone, and that's going to become. It has to work like that. There is no other way. Okay, my fifth and final is in terms of the importance of mobile, is don't underestimate those platforms or technologies that are ubiquitous. So as we have spoken about how important apps and HTML5 and all those good things are, the real success and the real volume is going to come in application of or clever ways of applying SMS, USSD, even using IVR. So those shouldn't be underestimated, but they need to be built in a way that is engaging and not in a way that is annoying or defeats the purpose of what you're trying to achieve. Because those, USSD and SMS are the two things that every single phone can do. Those are the only two things other than calling that every single phone can do, and I think that's really important to consider. And once again, as a marketer, you don't have to have all those answers. You need to make sure that your agency can deliver on what is required there.
Let's pull it back to native for a second. How is actually mobile going to be integrated into the service offering of native, and what will be different to, say, other conceptual agencies?
Brandish comes from a mobile background. That is what we have been focusing on for the last 4 years. We have a team of people that are very comfortable with mobile space, very comfortable with what is required. We have the relationships with all the key people in the industry. So that's the first thing. So instead of an existing agency trying to bring on 1 or 2 people to head up what they're going to call a new mobile service or mobile agency, we have a team of 30 odd people that are in that space. How it's going to work in native is that as part of the initial strat and planning phases, mobile is built into their thinking. So we have people from each of the disciplines that are part of the strat teams, the creative teams, the interaction designers. So it really is going to be part of the overall offering, as is social media. The same thing applies for our social media offering, where it's not going to be considered, let's employ 2 people and they can update Twitter accounts and that's a social media department. It really is, we've got social strategists that are looking at social interaction design as a key and core skill, and that once again is built in from the initial strategy and then the campaign rollout.
Your new role is the Executive Creative Director of Concept. What exactly is a great concept, and are concepts almost a dime a dozen?
A concept can be, it once again depends on the scale of what you're trying to do. If you've got a 5 million rand budget, there's a hell of a lot you can do. If you've got a 150,000 rand budget, you need to obviously scale down that concept. Great ideas, they don't come from one person or one group of people. And I think that's my key role, is to make sure that the organization is one that is full of ideas. And across everyone, we put in place the mechanisms or the framework that allow people, whoever they are, to be part of that conceptual process, where we can get great ideas coming from the strangest of places. There are lots of great ideas that people sort of throw out, and a lot of them are just not practical or don't work for that client, where we need to make sure that what the client is trying to communicate about their brand or their campaign, that great idea needs to be very closely aligned and hang off the initial strategy, the communication strategy, and then all future executions need to be able to hang off that great idea. And I think that's how you define a great idea, is how many hats can we hang off this idea, and does it maintain its appeal? Can we be consistent? Can we continue to innovate around it? If you look at Angry Birds as a simple idea, that has been extended into a whole lot of different areas. There are now games, and that's on the app side in terms of they came up with a great idea. There are now fluffy toys. There's a whole range of things. If we look at Compare the Meerkat as another example, that started as something that allowed them to differentiate their insurance comparison site in the UK. Now he's writing a book. He's got his own sayings. He's got a massive following on Facebook. There's a TV series, Alexander Orlov, the Meerkats TV series coming out. So there are some great ideas that have been adopted by the public and are now extending into things that the brand would never have initially thought. But it's a strong idea. They've been consistent, and they've managed to work it for a couple of years. So I think that my role is really to try and make sure that those gems that are great ideas are sort of nurtured and built, and we apply them correctly.
Angus, in closing, is there anything you'd like to say to clients and hopefully future clients?
Yeah. I think that this year is going to be a very interesting one. I think that the market is really ready for some breakthrough digital work. My view on is that most things take 5 to 7 years to be adopted in any sort of real kind of scale. And we are, if you look at social media in this country, you look at 2007 being the start of the Facebook wave in this country. It's 2007 to 8 to 9 to 10 to 11. We're like into 4 years into it. So I think that the next 2 years are going to be when we're going to see real adoption of great Facebook ideas, Facebook applications. Clients and agencies going to really start pushing the boundaries around, and then I think that's probably the message, is that let's be bold and innovate. We can't keep doing the same old stuff. We've got to start pushing those boundaries and look to what's really succeeded internationally. We've got the ability in this country to look into the future. The fact, the things that the guys in the States and the UK and Scandinavia and Japan and Korea are doing, that is our future, because they've got the bandwidth, they've got the handsets, they've got the agencies that are far more mature than us, and they've got the ability, the budgets to do it. So that's what we've got to do. We've got to take our lead on what has been done and build on those and make them applicable for the South African and African markets.
Thinking Native is a part of the Making of Native, a 4-month journey into the making of South Africa's newest full-service agency. For more insights with Native's leading thinkers, visit us on www.native.co today or follow us on @NativeSpeak.